It's 2:17 in the morning. My house is dead silent, no footsteps, no TV hum, no creak of the fridge. Just the faint buzz of the pool filter outside and the low, steady thrum of my own heartbeat as I stare at a live feed on my security monitor. Two dark figures climb over my back fence like shadows stretching across the night. They're wearing black tactical vests, each one stitched with a cheap patch that reads, HOA compliance. I almost laughed. Almost. But then I noticed how serious they looked, coordinated, moving with purpose. This wasn't some group of teenagers sneaking into a pool for a midnight dip. No, these guys had a plan. And just when I thought it couldn't get worse, a third figure appears. Red swim trunks. A towel slung over his shoulder like a prizefighter walking into the ring. His phone glow lights up his smirk. It's Chad Brown, the HOA president's son, captain of the swim team, and the ringleader of every problem I've had for weeks. They yank at my gate. My smart lock holds firm, flashing a quiet "access denied" notification to my phone. 14 failed codes already, each one logged, each one proof. A tamper alert goes off. My system is doing its job. I'm calm. Calm looks better on camera. But when one of the vests steps forward and grabs my arm, I pull free. Then Chad, with all the arrogance only a rich teenager can carry, shoulder bumps me, loses his footing on the wet pool deck, and goes down. He scrapes his elbow, nothing serious. But within seconds, he's on his phone dialing 911, screaming into the receiver, "Help! My neighbor attacked me. He's blocking emergency access with some illegal lock. Send police now." Imagine that, someone trespasses on my property, tries to break into my pool, brings fake muscle to intimidate me, and then calls the cops on me. But let me back this story up. Because this didn't start with a broken lock or a scraped elbow. No. This started with a boy who wanted power he didn't deserve, a mother who ran an HOA like it was her private kingdom, and a social ladder at Northwood High where my son Marcus was the target. This is the story of how my smart lock, my cameras, and a whole lot of patience exposed one of the most ridiculous, infuriating, and dangerous stunts my HOA ever pulled on me. The real problem didn't begin at 2:17 a.m. with trespassers at my gate. It started days earlier, not at my pool, not on my fence, but in the hallways of Northwood High School. My son, Marcus, came home one afternoon looking like someone had deflated him. His shoulders slumped forward, his backpack hit the floor with a dull thud, and his eyes, usually bright with the energy of a teenager, were downcast, shadowed. I was in the kitchen at the time, trimming the leaves of a basil plant. The scent of pepper and anise filled the air, but Marcus didn't even glance at it. He just trudged past like the world was pressing down on his back. "Everything okay, son?" I asked. He gave me that shrug, the universal teenage signal for "everything's wrong, but don't ask me." His lips pressed tight. His silence spoke volumes. I could have pushed. Demanded answers. But I've learned something as a father: problems aren't like doors you kick open. They're like ships in a storm. You don't chase them down, you give them a safe harbor, and eventually they dock. So, I let it go. For the moment. That night, though, I heard it. A buzzing from his room. Again. And again. A swarm of digital hornets rattling against the quiet walls of our house. His phone was lighting up like a lighthouse. Around 10, Marcus appeared in my doorway, framed by the hall light. He held his phone out in front of him like it was venomous. His voice was small. "Dad, can I show you something?" He handed me the screen. A string of direct messages. From none other than Chad Brown. "Yo, Thompson. Heard you got the hookup for the pool. Be a real one. Slide me the code. Don't be a loser. Everyone's going to be there Saturday night." Marcus's replies were polite, careful. He kept saying no. That it wasn't his decision. That the lock wasn't his to give. But Chad didn't take no for an answer. He pushed harder. And when Marcus didn't cave, he went nuclear. The group chat screenshots told the rest of the story. Chad had shared Marcus's refusal with his friends, mocking him, tearing him apart piece by piece. Thompson scared of his daddy. What a dork. And then came the meme. My son's face badly photoshopped onto a crying toddler clutching his mom's leg, with Chad's smug grin pasted onto the mom's face. The caption read, "Don't worry, Marcus. Mommy will protect you from the cool kids." It was cruel. Juvenile. But it wasn't just teasing. It was a weapon. A weapon designed to do exactly one thing: break my son's spirit. When I looked up from the phone, Marcus's eyes were on me. He was bracing himself for me to explode, to lecture, to scold. But I didn't. I took a deep breath. Because I'm an engineer, and engineers don't just react. We analyze. "This isn't about you, Marcus," I told him quietly. "This is about him. He wants something he can't have. He thinks bullying is a key that opens all doors. But you said no. That's the right answer. And it's the only one he needs to hear. Relief washed over him. For the first time that day, he lifted his head, and I could see the tension ease just a little. But what if he keeps going? He asked. He will, I said. People like Chad don't stop easily. But we'll handle it. Together. That night, I emailed Assistant Principal Cruz. Calm. Professional. I attached screenshots of the harassment. Not demanding punishment. Just creating a record. Engineers love data. Data doesn't lie. And sure enough, the buzzing stopped. For now. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Because Chad didn't just want the pool. He wanted control. And the next move? It wouldn't be through a phone. It would come at my back gate. The next morning, sunlight spilled across my backyard like liquid gold. The pool shimmered, the sound of sprinklers ticked rhythmically across the lawn, and for a moment, everything looked normal. But normal doesn't last long when you live under the thumb of Karen Brown. I was sipping my coffee when the pounding came. 3 sharp, deliberate knocks on the front door. Not the friendly tap of a neighbor. The kind of knock that says, I own this street. I opened the door, and there she was. Karen. The HOA president. A woman who carried herself like she was mayor, sheriff, and queen all rolled into one. Her hair was sculpted into an immovable helmet of blonde. Oversized sunglasses masked her eyes, though I could feel the glare radiating behind them. And clutched in her hand, a clipboard. Always a clipboard. She didn't bother with greetings. Mr. Thompson, she said, voice sharp enough to cut glass, we've had a complaint. Apparently, you've installed some kind of device on the pool gate. Her tone made device sound like I'd built a nuclear reactor instead of a smart lock. Yes, I said evenly. It's a smart lock. Keypad entry. For safety. Her lips pinched. That pool is considered a shared community amenity. According to Section 7 of the HOA bylaws, actually, I cut in, reaching for the manila folder I'd been keeping near the door for moments exactly like this. I flipped it open, pulled out a copy of the property deed, and held it out between us. This pool is on my land. My fence. My lock. Karen didn't even look at the paper. She tapped her pen against her clipboard instead. A staccato rhythm, like a ticking bomb. The lock must be removed immediately, she declared. It creates an unsafe barrier to emergency access. If a child, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The lock is up to code. It's UL certified, self-latching, and records every access attempt. That's safer than any rusty chain and padlock I could buy at Home Depot. Her nostrils flared. She hated when people came prepared. Karen thrived on intimidation, not facts. Behind her, I noticed movement. Chad. Leaning casually against a lamppost across the street, earbuds dangling, smirk plastered across his face. He was watching his mother fight his battle for him. And in that moment, I realized, this wasn't about emergency access. It wasn't about bylaws. It wasn't even about safety. It was about control. Karen's HOA ruled this neighborhood like a kingdom. And my lock? It was a wall she couldn't climb. Remove it, she said again, her voice tightening. Or I'll have no choice but to escalate. I met her stare. Do what you need to do. For a long moment, we just stood there, the summer air thick between us. Then she turned on her heel, heels clicking against the pavement like gunshots, and marched back to her house. But the battle didn't end there. No, that was just the opening volley. Over the next week, I started noticing things. Trash cans accidentally tipped over near my curb. Anonymous notes slipped into my mailbox, warning me that I was violating HOA safety codes. A fine notice appeared in my email, $250 for an unapproved modification to community property. Each one was nonsense. Each one was meant to rattle me. Each one I documented, saved, and filed neatly into my growing folder of evidence. Marcus noticed too. He came to me one evening, brows knit. Dad, do you think Chad's behind all this? I glanced at the window, where the pool glowed softly in the dusk. I don't think, I said. I know. Because bullies don't work alone. They recruit. They escalate. They test boundaries. And soon enough, they were going to test mine. At night. It was a Tuesday night when the silence broke. The neighborhood had long since gone to sleep, no barking dogs, no late-night lawnmowers, just the soft hum of crickets and the faint splash of the pool filter cycling water under the moonlight. I was in my office, half-finished mug of coffee cooling beside me, scrolling through the smart lock's activity log. 14 failed entry attempts logged earlier that afternoon. 14. Each one neatly timestamped, each one saved to the cloud. I leaned back, muttering to myself, they're not going to quit, are they? And then, right on cue, my phone buzzed. Motion detected, backyard camera. I tapped the screen, and the live feed popped up. At first, I thought the shadows were playing tricks. But then, movement. 2 figures climbing my back fence with all the grace of burglars in a cheap heist movie. Black tactical vests. Reflective patches stitched on the back, HOA compliance. I almost laughed. Compliance? These weren't professionals. They were kids playing dress up, but dressed up or not, they were trespassing. A third figure followed, less careful, clumsy as he dropped down onto the damp grass. His phone glow illuminated his face. Chad. Red swim trunks, smug grin, carrying himself like he owned my backyard. I watched as they gathered at the pool gate. One of the vests produced a small pry bar, wedging it into the edge of the smart lock. Another tapped numbers furiously into the keypad, as if sheer determination would brute force a code. My phone vibrated again, tamper alert, unauthorized access attempt. Every push, every failed code, every second of footage, recorded, stored, timestamped. My engineer's brain was cataloging evidence as quickly as my pulse was climbing. I decided it was time to move. Quietly, I slipped out the back door, keeping to the shadows of the hedges. The humid air clung to me as I crept closer, the faint scent of chlorine thickening with each step. I was 10 feet away when I heard Chad's voice. "Dude, hurry up. My mom said this lock is illegal. We're, like, doing the community a favor." A favor. That word stuck like a thorn. He wasn't sneaking in for a swim. He was justifying it. Twisting it. Telling himself that trespassing was righteous, because mommy said so. The pry bar screeched against metal. The smart lock held firm. My phone buzzed, attempt 21, denied. That's when I stepped forward. "Enjoying the view?" I said, voice calm, carrying across the still water. All 3 froze. The one with the pry bar nearly dropped it. The other fumbled his phone, its light splashing across their startled faces. Chad turned, recovering faster than the rest. "This is HOA business," he barked, puffing out his chest like he was leading an army instead of a midnight prank. "You're interfering with a compliance inspection." I stepped closer, into the pool light, letting the cameras catch everything. "No. This is my property. My fence. And you're trespassing." The kid with the pry bar backed away, muttering. But Chad wasn't ready to fold. He shoved his shoulder into me as he tried to brush past. The slick deck betrayed him. His feet slipped, arms windmilling, before he hit the ground with a sharp smack. He wasn't hurt. A scraped elbow at worst. But his pride? That was bleeding out fast. And then, with the melodrama only a teenager could muster, Chad yanked his phone back out, thumb jabbing the screen. 911, he said loudly, like an actor announcing his lines. "Yeah, this is an emergency. My neighbor just attacked me. He's blocking us from getting to the pool. He's got some illegal lock on the gate." He shot me a glare as he spoke, as if daring me to stop him. But I didn't move. I didn't even raise my voice. Because the truth was already on my side. On the cameras. In the logs. In every single time-stamped record that would prove exactly who was trespassing and who wasn't. So I stood there, calm as stone, while Chad spun his lie into the phone, not realizing he'd just escalated this from a dumb prank to something much, much bigger. The blue and red glow came faster than I expected. Within 7 minutes, my backyard was lit up like a crime scene from a TV show. Sirens off, tires crunching quietly over asphalt, 2 squad cars eased to a stop in front of my house. Chad was still on the phone when the first officer stepped through the gate. He sprang to his feet, holding his scraped elbow like a war wound. "Officers. Thank God. He attacked me," Chad cried, pointing straight at me. His voice cracked just enough to betray the act, but he didn't care. He was all in now. "He's got this illegal lock. He's blocking us from emergency access." The 2 boys in fake vests hovered awkwardly behind him, shifting from foot to foot. Their bravado had evaporated under the flashing lights. The lead officer, tall, broad-shouldered, with a calm authority in his stride, raised a hand. "All right, slow down. One at a time." His eyes flicked from Chad to me. "Sir, you the homeowner?" "Yes," I said evenly. "My name's Mark Thompson. This is my property. And I have security footage of everything that happened tonight." "Footage?" he asked, eyebrow raised. I nodded. "Multiple cameras. Audio and video. Plus the smart lock's tamper logs. 21 failed access attempts in the last hour. All timestamped. All stored in the cloud." For the first time that night, Chad's confidence wavered. The officer gestured. "Let's see it." I handed him my phone, screen already queued up to the live feed playback. There it was, in crystal clarity, 3 figures scaling my fence. A pry bar scraping against the lock. Chad shouting about doing the community a favor. And finally, his shoulder slam into me before his graceless fall. The officer watched silently, jaw tightening. When the clip ended, he handed the phone back, then turned to Chad. "Son," he said slowly, "do you understand what trespassing means?" Chad stammered, the smugness gone. "But, my mom," she said. The officer cut him off. "Your mom isn't the law. This man has every right to secure his property. What you did tonight is breaking and entering. And calling in a false report? That's serious." Karen arrived just then, storming across the lawn like a hurricane in heels. Her sunglasses were gone, eyes blazing with fury. "Officer! This man is lying. That pool belongs to the community. My son was only doing what I told him." The officer turned, voice firm. "Ma'am, I've seen the footage. This pool is on private property. Your son trespassed, attempted to damage a lock, and made a false emergency call. Do you want to keep talking, or do you want to step back before this gets worse?" For the first time since I'd known her, Karen was speechless. Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again, but no words came out. She looked at Chad, who was pale now, staring at the ground. The second officer stepped forward, pulling out a notepad. "We'll be filing a report. Mr. Thompson, we'll need copies of the footage and lock logs for evidence. This may go to juvenile court." I nodded. "Already backed up. I'll email it tonight." The officers escorted Chad and his two sidekicks back toward the street. Karen followed, sputtering under her breath, but not daring to argue further. When the flashing lights finally faded, the night returned to its quiet hum. The pool water rippled gently, as if mocking the chaos that had just unfolded. I stood there for a long moment, phone still in hand, before Marcus appeared at the back door. His eyes were wide, worry etched across his face. "Dad? What happened?" I sighed, walking over, resting a hand on his shoulder. "The truth happened. And the truth always wins, son. It just needs proof." He nodded slowly, taking it in. For the first time in days, I saw something different in his eyes, not fear, not anxiety. Respect. Relief. Maybe even pride. Because bullies, no matter how loud, no matter how privileged, always crumble when the facts stand tall. That night, as I backed up the final files into my HOA folder, I realized something. The lock wasn't just protecting my pool. It was protecting my family. My peace. My son's dignity. And for that, it was worth every knock on my door, every fake fine, every sleepless night. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't shouting. It's standing calm, with the evidence in hand, while the truth does the shouting for you.